Hi guys, this is my tutorial for a black opal galaxy tumbler. I have already sanded and prepped my tumbler using an 80 grit sanding block and Rust-Oleum Ultra in black. We'll be using the epoxy method again, but since we'll be using some chunky glitters, I used about 10 milliliters of epoxy on this 32 ounce tumbler. You may need more or less depending on the size tumbler you're using. When I first started making black opals, I used this photo to start. And as I made more, I realized the colors remind me of one of those, what do they call it, like those infrared photos. So there is an order to how you want to sprinkle your glitter. You don't have to be exact, but try to be close. Because we'll be doing several layers with our black opal, we want to make this glitter layer as flat as possible. So instead of patting down the glitter with my finger, I'll be using some wax paper to make sure my chunky glitter lays down nice and flat. You don't need to press hard, just lightly go over it with your hand. After the glitter layer is cured, I swipe on some quick coat to help keep the epoxy from separating over the chunky glitter. I apply a thin coat, about 15 milliliters, let that layer cure, and we're ready for the next layer. For this next step, we'll need about 30 milliliters of epoxy resin. We won't be using all of it, so if you have a mold or a keychain that you can use, definitely use the excess for that. Split the epoxy between 3 cups, one with the plain epoxy, one for the mica powder, and one for the opal glitter mix. I've had this mix for over 3 years, you guys. I just keep adding to it. Anytime I would make an opal tumbler, I'll put the excess in this cup. So if you have a chunky opal glitter mix that you have on hand, that'll be perfect. Or if you're like me and you save all of your opal mixes or all of your opal glitters in a cup, use it. Just have fun with it, you guys. But as long as it's an opal glitter, it'll work. After you've applied a thin layer of plain epoxy and hit it with your torch, add the mica colored epoxy using a gloved finger. I tap, swirl, smear, zigzag, pretty much channel my inner child and go to town finger painting the epoxy all over the cup, making sure to leave some of the spots clear. When you're happy with how your black mica mix looks, take your opal glitter and apply it on top. I place it on top of the mica spots, but you can place it anywhere. After making this tumbler so many times, I realized that mixing the opal glitter in the epoxy will save you an epoxy step. Normally, if you sprinkle the opal glitter on top, you would have to add another layer on top of that one to cover the opal glitter. But since our opal glitter is already mixed in the epoxy, this is all we'll have to do. Let that layer cure, and now we're ready for another layer. Yes, there's a lot of layers, you guys, but it will look gorgeous when we're done, and the depth of this cup is so pretty. After you've applied another clear layer of resin, I decided to divide what was left. Instead of doing 3 cups, I just added the epoxy resin first, then divided what was left. For this next layer, we'll just be adding a bit more opal mix and a Lumelite black opaque epoxy dye. Once again, you're going to want to finger paint the black dyed epoxy on, leaving some spots open for the glitter to shine through. You can smear it a little, swirl it around, but just make sure there's some open spots so you can see that gorgeous glitter lying underneath. Add the opal mix on top of some of the black spots and go over it again with more of the black dyed epoxy. This will give it even more depth, and I'm not sure even how to explain it. The opal glitter will end up shining through the black dye and it will give a really cool effect. Once you're happy with how you placed your epoxy layers, I zap my tumbler with a kitchen torch instead of my propane torch. The propane torch is a little bit too powerful. I don't want my black dyed epoxy to move that much. So my kitchen torch, I just lightly go over it really fast just to pop any bubbles. Now I'm adding some chrome flakes from Woods Goodies. Links to everything I've used will be in the description box. I use a small spoon that comes with the flakes, and I sprinkle the flakes over the tumbler. Try to keep the flakes on the dark epoxy areas and not on the open glitter spots. I personally only add a touch of each, but you can add as much as you like. Before my final coat, I sealed my vinyl with another layer of quick coat from CC DIY. I applied my final layer of epoxy and then I let it cure. That's it, guys! Thank you so much for watching my tutorial. Have fun making your black opal galaxy tumblers, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!